So, welcome, Kenya, to rawandcookedvegan.com.
Hi, I'm good. I'm
Nice,
glad to be here.
nice to have you. Nice to have you. So the way I usually do these is just hear a little bit about, the way you were brought up. This is the way I usually start. So if you could say a little bit about your family, how they looked at diet and nutrition and fitness, did that play a role in your upbringing at all? And just talk about that a little bit.
Okay, let's see. I was raised in the South. I had two working parents. So food was pretty much whatever was quick, easy, just very standard American diet, a lot of packaged stuff,
Yep,
a lot of meat,
yep.
fast food, things of that nature. My mom did make a lot of vegetables, but they were usually canned. Um, they usually had butter. I mean, it was the South, just standard Southern cooking, so nothing was really healthy.
Okay. Now, it doesn't sound like you have a real strong Southern accent. Is that is your family? There's not much of an accent, or you got a little bit, but
Comes and goes.
comes together. Okay, okay. All right. So a lot of cooked food, a lot of canned stuff, and I saw a video of yours today where you were talking a little bit about having food issues kind of in your teens. People were making comments about weight and stuff, and that started to affect your food. I guess if you want to, if you feel comfortable, maybe you could talk a little bit about that, what happened, and how it affected what you were eating.
Yeah, sure. When I was 11, somebody really close to me told me I was fat, and I wasn't even fat. I was nowhere near fat, but it devastated me. So from about 11 until I'd say 13 and 14, I would starve myself. I'd skip meals. I basically lived off of soda. I would just drink, and or I would go like days, and then I'd finally binge out. So around age 13, I ended up in the hospital in a mental ward.
Man.
Yeah, and I was in and out for probably until I was about 17, just in and out just because of issues relating to my eating disorder and just depression, which was mainly stemming from me being overweight and things of that nature.
How did did you have brothers and sisters, and how did your parents deal with this? Did they not know what to do really, or that
Yeah,
was it?
I have two brothers, and my parents, I mean, they did all they could. Looking back, they did all they could. You know,
Yeah,
like I said, I'm from the South, where it's really religious, and you're really not allowed to have these type of problems, if that makes any sense.
yeah,
My
yeah.
parents, they did everything they could. I was so miserable, and I don't think they really knew the extent that it was an eating disorder because I was overweight. So nobody thought of me as having an eating disorder. They just thought I was depressed.
Yeah, and it's so common in the South for overweight is such a common thing. It's like, yeah. All right, so you spent these years in these institutions, and I bet the nutrition there was not that great either, was it?
It was terrible. It was the same. Everything fried, meat-like products that weren't really meat. And I would starve myself there too. And I would only eat when they threatened me with a feeding tube because they were like, if you're not going to eat, we have to feed you somehow.
Wow.
So yeah, it was rough.
All right. Now, over the course of this period, did you get at all interested in nutrition? Were you reading anything about it, or was it kind of like you hadn't yet seen a connection between diet, nutrition, health? I mean, what was your take on health in general, or was it just like you were battling with this issue and it kind of was consuming you?
I was just consumed. At that point, no, I didn't know anything about nutrition. Everybody around me was completely ignorant to it.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up where bacon is a condiment. So, nobody relates that, food is causing the issues. So I didn't make any connection until I was a lot older.
Okay. So what happened? Like, was it? You said, I guess at I forget what age was it, 16 or 17? You got out of the institution. What happened that enabled you to get out? Did you kind of resolve psychological issues associated with eating, or you were ready to go back into the world? What happened?
Well, I was institutionalized for like days at a time, so it wasn't like I was, continuously
Okay.
hospitalized. But
Yeah.
I ended up leaving home at 16, so that caused me to really have to get my stuff together.
Uh
And
huh.
I stopped taking my antidepressants, which I think really helped me because I think the first time I went to the hospital, I wasn't that bad, but when they put me on antidepressants, it just like amplified all my issues, and so when I stopped taking those, it really helped me out a lot.
Now that's really interesting. That's really interesting. The medication they're prescribing to you is making things worse.
I think it did,
Yeah.
honestly.
Okay. All right, so you got rid of the meds, and then and you're kind of on your own at 16, which is pretty crazy. So what happened? So what happened, like with nutrition, fitness? How were you living? Were you like renting an apartment? What was going on?
I was renting a room out of a friend's house.
Mhm.
And I mean, diet was just terrible. We ate once a day because I was working minimum wage and I was still in high school. So I would just eat once a day. And that was my thing because at the time, that's all I could really afford to do was eat once a day. So I just fell into that habit for years.
Okay, so you're like working, going to high school, and doing your and paying your rent. That's pretty crazy. Yeah, and I guess I'll tie this in a little bit. We'll go more into this later. But were you already getting into music at that time? Were you? Because I know you're a country music fan. Were you? Was that already an interest at that time?
It was, but it was kind of on the back burner because, you tell people you want to do music for a living, and it's kind of like that's not a, get a real job. That's not a real career. So
Right.
it's in the back of my mind. I've always written a lot, so I was writing during that time. I had a blog, but it wasn't something I was really that was at the forefront because I was trying to take care of myself. I was a teenager on my own, so.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. All right, so you were doing this for a while, and at what point did you start to kind of look at nutrition and diet seriously? When did you try to start making some serious changes in certain? Well, let's say did you initially go vegetarian? Did you go straight to vegan? When did you stop kind of eating the old way?
I stopped. It was in, I believe, 2010. I got laid off, and again, I was in some financial constraints, so I stopped eating meat because I couldn't really afford it.
All right, interesting.
So once I realized, hey, I can go without this and be okay, I was vegetarian for probably about a year,
Uh-huh.
and I guess you could say flexitarian. I would eat meat if somebody else had it, but I wouldn't prepare meat. I wouldn't buy it because I saw how
And
much money I was saving.
And that's a great point. Yeah, it's more expensive to eat meat. That's a great point. All right, and how did you feel? You said you didn't really notice any difference. Were you eating kind of like grains and veggies and just cooking whatever that was not meat?
Pretty much, I was a junk food vegetarian, I guess you could say. I was eating whatever, because if you go on like PETA's website, they'll give you a whole list of stuff that's vegetarian and vegan, but none of it's really healthy.
Yeah,
And I was, trying to save money, and I was just eating once a day, grabbing whatever. I know I did the special K shakes a lot. It was just a really unhealthy diet, but I wasn't putting myself first. I was too busy working and doing other things. So
okay. Despite the fact that it was unhealthy, do you think it was better without the meat?
I think it was because I did start to lose weight effortlessly, pretty much.
Uh-huh.
Because till then I've been gaining weight every year, and from then on I started losing weight every year. I also stopped drinking soda around that time too, because I couldn't afford it. But
Wow.
yeah.
All right. That's huge. All right. So you're doing kind of an economy-based vegan thing, and for economic reasons, was there a point where you started to consider it more seriously in terms of health? Like what made you shift towards, let's say, a more strict health-oriented vegetarian or vegan approach?
When I was 23, I was diagnosed with diabetes. And even then, I was still kind of like, whatever, because it runs in my family. I didn't
Yep.
take it seriously. I continued to kind of still casually eat meat and do pretty much whatever I wanted. But what really got me to go to veganism was when I was 24, I started having these insane rashes, which I finally got diagnosed. It was a type of urticaria, like an autoimmune disorder. And they
Huh.
made my life miserable. I was allergic to pretty much everything, and all my doctor could basically say was, "We'll put you on a steroid, a daily steroid." And I didn't want to do that. I said, "There's got to be something that's causing this."
Good
So
for you. Good for you. That was really smart. Yeah.
yeah, because it was terrible. But I started just stripping away everything because I'm like, there's got to be something that's causing my body to freak out. I don't know what it is, but it's got to be something. So that was last year. I went strictly vegan for 3 months. Felt awesome. My urticaria went away, and I was losing weight.
When you say strictly vegan, can you clarify what does that mean exactly?
Right. I was doing mainly back then. It was grain based, oatmeal. I still wasn't doing as many fresh fruits and vegetables,
Yep.
but yeah, just mainly grain based and whole foods. Nothing processed. I started shopping at health food stores.
All right.
Yeah.
And were you finding that at all difficult with salary and like like if you tried to, did you try to go organic at all, or was that kind of not a possibility?
I kind of flirted with it, but like I said, I wasn't too big on vegetables. I guess my thing was I was afraid of meat because I noticed when I stopped eating meat, I wouldn't have the flare-ups.
Uh-huh.
My
Yeah.
hives would go away, so I was like, just stay away from meat. And so I just did that for a while, and I relapsed back into the standard American diet, mainly because I was hanging around the wrong crowd. I started drinking heavily. You know, you go out and drink, you're at IHOP at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
So, I started doing all of that, and that just kind of made my diabetes worse. By the time I went back to the doctor, I had cholesterol problems at that point.
Huh.
He said to me, he's like, I got to put you on something because you're not getting better. So he tried to prescribe me metformin, which is a diabetic medication.
Okay.
And that was my main wake-up call. That was actually this year that happened. And I was like, wow, I have to get my stuff together. This is serious. And I've been watching During Ryder, Freely, and other people, and just kind of like as a spectator, and kind of like, I wish I could do that. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Once I realized, and my doctor even told me, he's like, look, if you don't get this under control, you're going to die. Like, you're going to die of diabetes, something completely preventable.
But you still didn't want to take the medication?
No, I never picked up the medication. I just made the decision that I was going to change my life. I was going to get serious about it. I was going to buckle down. And I knew veganism was what my body wanted. Even though I didn't think I wanted it, it's obviously the way my body was designed to operate, because that's the only thing I've ever done to where, I was losing weight. All of my conditions were going away. And it just seemed like I was blossoming. I was becoming more conscious. I was becoming more real with myself. And it's the diet that I'm supposed to be on, whether I like it or not.
That's funny. Okay. All right. So this was this year. So did you kind of shift from being a spectator to applying the principles? When did that happen?
That happened a little bit before my 25th birthday, so October. And literally within 6 weeks, I got another A1C test, which is the test they do to measure your blood sugar.
Yeah.
And my blood sugar was normal for the first time in 3 years. It was normal.
Now that's incredible. So
yeah,
6 weeks.
Yeah.
6 weeks. So can you describe for the viewers what kind of diet you were doing for those 6 weeks?
Basically high carb. High carb, low fat vegan. I didn't like bananas that much, but I love mangoes. So mangoes are pretty much my staple.
Okay.
I did smoothies because I came from, a background of just really messed up thinking, eating disorders. So it was hard for me to force myself to eat. I drank a lot of water.
Good.
Salads. I think my main thing was blending. Smoothies really saved me because I don't like to eat, but I could force myself to chug down a smoothie. So.
All right. Tell me, how much do you pay for a case of mangoes?
I don't usually buy them by the case.
Okay.
I've frozen a lot of times.
Oh, okay, good.
And I can get them organic because I noticed that non-organic mangoes, they taste really bad.
All right.
Everything in Whole Foods will have them on sale, and I can get them for like $12. But,
okay.
Yeah.
And do you at all watch your calories when you're doing this? Are you calorie counting, or are you just not worrying about that?
I did for a while. In the beginning, I did, but now I'm at the point where I know I can pretty much eyeball it, and I know I need to eat more. My main thing is my water intake. That's my biggest hurdle because I don't really like drinking water.
Okay.
So
how many calories would you say you average a day?
I would say anywhere from 2,000 to 2,500. I'm not very active. I was at one point, but since I've gone back to work, work has picked up because it's like the holidays, and for me, that's a busy time.
Okay.
I'm not as active, so I'm not requiring as many calories as I was in the summer. So I'd say maybe around 2,000, 2,500.
Okay. And then outside of just weight, have you noticed any other benefits from being on this diet in terms of health?
Definitely. I think my urticaria is like the main thing, like not having to, because the flare-ups were so bad. They were so bad. I would have to leave work to get a shot of steroids because my body would just itch so bad. So that went away. Breathing, I've always had chronic bronchitis, and I just can't really breathe for some reason. I'm starting to clear up in my sinus passages. I don't know all the technical words for what I'm trying to say.
No, that's right. Yeah.
So
you're breathing more freely. You're breathing more freely. And before, were you getting like your sleep interrupted from clogged up passages, and now are you sleeping better?
Yeah, and I don't snore as loud. So.
All right. Yeah. Yeah, I think that happens a lot. I think snoring goes away. And maybe you could walk us through like a day. Like, do you do like a big smoothie in the morning, a smoothie for in the afternoon, and then a salad, or are you still doing some cooked food? Tell us, kind of give us an average day of what you might eat.
Okay, typically I wake up late almost every morning, first of all. Um, I just throw in to my blender whatever I may have. One of my favorite smoothies is mango, orange, kale.
All right.
I've been on that for a while. It's so good. And when you blend the orange and the kale together, you don't even taste the kale. So that's usually my morning smoothie.
And tell me about the kale. Do you just buy like a head of kale in the produce section? You get like a leafy green kale. Is it? There's different varieties, aren't there?
Yes, there is. I usually get whatever's on sale.
Okay. Yeah.
Whatever's on sale. So right now,
Practical.
the curly kale.
Yep. Gotcha. Okay. So
Yeah.
you do that, and then for lunch.
For lunch, it's usually another smoothie. Usually I want something really fruity, so I'll do. I love pomegranate and pineapple. And another thing I do is I keep my meals really simple. I don't like to use a lot of different ingredients. I find that digests better just for me.
Yep.
So lunch, I'll either do a smoothie or sometimes I'll do my cooked meal at lunch, just depending on how I feel.
Okay.
If I feel like I'm really, really hungry, I'll do my cooked meal at lunch, which my favorite cooked meal is just steamed potatoes, romaine lettuce, and sprouts. And I kind of make like a raw taco. And that's
Awesome.
that's like my favorite staple meal. And that's pretty much it. Just smoothie, something I actually have to eat is my diet, basically.
And when you do your your potato dish, do you put a little salt on that, or how do you feel about salt, or do you kind of stay away from salt?
I don't use salt. I like food in its natural state. I just really love the way it tastes without anything on it.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right. So one thing I'd like to hear you tell us your experience on is, as you've been doing this, how have you found it socially? Like, it sounds like I don't know if you're living near your family anymore, but at least with coworkers and friends. Tell us a little bit about how you handle that.
I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of hard. I do still go home to my family. Every time I go home, I have to take my own food. Um,
Yeah.
and they're kind of over it. Like my mom, she's always asking me, "Well, what do you eat?" Because like there's a long list of stuff I don't eat.
Yeah.
She's like, "I just don't understand what you do eat."
Yeah.
So I kind of tell her, and she doesn't understand how this is safe and sustainable. But
Right.
my concern is that at work, I guess work is my biggest challenge because people at work kind of annoy me. Just the protein discussion,
Yeah.
and usually just my thing is I just tell them, I'm doing this for health reasons. Obviously, I'm not going to wither away. I mean, I'm still a good 30 pounds overweight.
You're doing awesome. You're doing awesome.
I'm trying. But people, they just don't get it. I mean, it's nothing. One of my coworkers, she would actually sit beside me eating fruit snacks, and I would be drinking orange juice, and she would ask me if I was concerned about all the sugar in my orange juice.
Yeah, it's funny. The disconnect, yeah.
People don't get it, and it's hard some days, but I think what really helps me is having a community like YouTube, being able to see other people. It helps me feel like I'm not that alone, because around here nobody's really vegan, especially raw. And it can get hard, but having people like you and other people, just seeing that other people do it, it helps me.
Oh, and I think you're already inspiring other folks. You're in North Carolina, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you're not near like a big city, are you?
I actually live in Charlotte, so it's a major city.
Okay. So you might have like a produce outlet somewhere in there. You could maybe, I don't know, you might be able to find some cheaper produce at a sometimes they have like fruit distribution locations in major cities. But anyway, so what I'd like to hear you say a little bit about is, it sounds like you've done this primarily for health reasons. What is your take on the ethical and the ecological aspects of eating this way?
Ethically, I have a dog. I've had her for like 4 years. And I guess initially that's what I came to veganism or vegetarianism for. After my whole financial thing, I watched Earthlings.
Yeah.
That like traumatized me. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like I go home at night and I see my dog, and it's like she's no different than that cow, that chicken. And that movie made me cry like a baby because I felt so bad, because we don't think about it. And I guess because it's out of our hands, we're not killing the animals, so we don't see that. But to me, watching Earthlings, it just made me realize, I mean, it's just terrible, and we can't do this to animals.
Amen.
Yeah, it hurt my heart so bad to see that movie. Oh my God.
Yeah, I can't watch it. I can't watch it. I just can't. It's evil. It's evil. But anyway, and then have you looked at all into like the environmental aspects of eating this way?
I have. I saw other people talk about it, like Durian Rider, talking about how the children in Africa, a lot of their grains are being outsourced to feed animals and stuff. And I didn't know that. I admit I'm kind of ignorant about that side of it. But that's terrible, I think, that people are starving just so we can eat meat that we don't really need to eat.
I know, it's crazy, man. This big, huge meat consumption, it affects the cost of grain. So it raises the cost of grain. So poor folks have to pay more money for grain. It's crazy. All right. So what else did I want to ask you? I'm kind of curious about the country music thing. And tell me a little bit about that, because I think not only, I think you'll be a breath of fresh air in Nashville. I'll tell you that much. And I think not only just the youth and the vibrance, but the veganism. I think it'll be good for some of those barbecue folks to hear a little bit about veganism. So, so how'd you get into the country music thing?
I've loved country all my life. I can kind of attribute that to my mother. My mother was very eclectic in her music taste. And what kind of started my love for country was she would listen to Faith Hill, her CDs, over and over. And I was just like, immersed into it. And just as I got older, I started listening to other stuff. I didn't really tell people about it because, a lot of people didn't like country music. Still in my area, people aren't that crazy about country music. But I actually ended up, I've always kind of wanted to sing and wanted to write, but I never felt like I could or that I was allowed to. And when I was 23, I was out one night. This is back when I was like drinking and, and all involved with all around people. So one night we're all drunk and we go to sing karaoke. And I'm on a stage and I'm singing. And this is the first time I've sang since church, probably as a kid.
Yeah.
And just being on the stage, like for the first time in my life, I felt like that's what I was born to do. And I had like that amazing revelation that I hope everybody gets one day. I just know that's what I was put on earth to do. And that's what makes me happy. So from there, within the past year or so, I've just been trying to write, develop my voice, because my dream is to become the first Black woman to be inducted into the Grand Ole Opry.
That's awesome. That's awesome, Kenya.
But I really love it. And I'm still in love with country music, and because I'm from the country. I'm from Waco, North Carolina, which is a very small town. So country music, it's in my roots. The things that we sing about, God, guns, whiskey, trucks.
Right.
It's me to my core, and I think that's why I love it the most. And I just hope that my dreams come true one day.
Oh, I'm sure they will. That's so cool. And I heard that song that you wrote that someone else performed on your channel, and I love the lyrics. The lyrics are awesome.
Yeah.
Now, I know this would really put you on the spot, and you don't have to do it, but I was wondering if you might sing us a line or two from the song.
For my song?
Yeah. if you feel up to it. If you don't want to, it's totally cool. You don't have to.
I could sing you something.
All right.
This is one of my favorite songs. It's called Mama's Broken Heart by Miranda Lambert.
Okay.
Here we go. I cut my bangs with some rusty kitchen scissors. I screamed his name till the neighbors called the cops. I numbed the pain at the expense of my liver. Don't know what I did next. All I know, I couldn't stop. Go and fix your makeup, girl. It's just a breakup running. Hide your crazy and start acting like a lady. 'Cause I raised you better. Gotta keep it together even when you fall apart. But this ain't my mama's broken heart. Oh, I hope that was it.
That's pretty awesome. For just on the fly, that's awesome. That's awesome.
But that's cool.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So one other thing, we were talking about family a little bit, and I was wondering, since you know what you know now, in terms of health and ethics and all that, how do you interact with people? Like sometimes you want to tell people about it, sometimes they're not receptive. How do you navigate with that?
Oh, I know exactly what you mean, because I kind of want to tell everybody.
Yeah.
people don't want to hear it. And one person I'm trying to work on is my mother, because my mother has a bunch of health problems.
Yeah.
And she can't see that it's related to the way she lives, the processed food, the soda, the smoking. So my thing right now is not so much to preach, but to keep living this lifestyle. And hopefully, as I continue to get to heal and as I continue to get in shape, other people see it and they'll be like, wow, what are you doing,
Exactly.
Just to be an example, I think that's the best thing I can do, because people don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
They just don't.
Yeah, that's true. All right. Well, let's see. I'm thinking. Oh, how about fitness? What are you doing? It sounds like you said you're kind of busy with work and you don't have a lot of time to exercise. Are you doing a little bit? What's going on there?
I walk my dog and I have a rebounder.
All right.
And usually on the weekends, my friend and I will go to the gym and I'll get a pretty good workout in.
Okay. And if you get on the rebounder, how much time will you get on? How much time will you do that?
I do it until I'm exhausted, and usually I sing while I'm doing it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I just do it till I'm sweating and exhausted. Usually like 15 minutes. I'd say probably 3 or 4 or 5 songs.
That's great. That's great. And do you do like calisthenics while you're jumping on it? I know there's like different things you can do, or do you just jump?
I just jump for the most part. There's just where you sit on it and it's kind of hard to explain, but I try to do different things.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, let's see. What else? Is there anything that you would like to tell the audience about this, about anything, about any topic, any points that you'd like to say that we haven't addressed?
Sure. I guess I would just like to say that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results. And that's the conclusion some people have to come to, that what you've been doing isn't working, so why not try something else? People say to me all the time, oh, this vegan thing is so extreme, I don't see why you're doing it. And I'm like, no, extreme was being diabetic at 23. Extreme was being hospitalized because I was about to go into a diabetic coma. Extreme is being allergic to everything and not being able to identify the one thing that's causing your allergy. To me, having a health issue is extreme, and I just want people to, even if you don't want to go all the way vegan, just try incorporating more fresh fruits and vegetables. It's not going to hurt you. And I would just say try something different, because it could be your saving grace. Like I said, I came to raw foods and veganism on my knees because I was literally dying,
Yep.
And I didn't want to just become a slave to the pharmaceutical company who were just going to make me worse. I knew that my issues had a root cause. I knew it wasn't just genetics. I knew it wasn't just something that mysteriously happened and I had no control over.
Right.
So I would just say, just if you get a diagnosis, don't accept it. Don't run to get medicine. Don't run to get surgery. Just really think about it and try a natural approach. Because I'm glad I did, because if I had gone the other route, I'd probably be twice my size by now, because I'd be on daily steroids and metformin. I would be a mess.
Yeah.
I just want to tell people, just try something different and don't be afraid to stand up for what you're doing, because I think sometimes, even now, I'm still kind of afraid to tell people, I don't eat that, because we have a lot of food. I work in corporate America where we have bagels every morning and
donuts. Yeah.
So I would just say, be yourself and don't be afraid to be different. And if it seems normal, you're doing something wrong. That's my new thing. If I'm starting to blend in with everybody else, something's wrong. To be weird, I want to be the outcast. I want to be, the pioneer. So
I hear you. Now I hope that what they view as crazy, they'll come to learn is really should be the mainstream. But I hear you. It's so true. Yeah. All right. Well, Kenya, it's a real pleasure. Can you tell folks the name of your YouTube channel?
Sure. You can find me by searching Wildwood Kenya in YouTube. That's the Wild, WILDWOOD, Kenya. And I'll come up, me and all my singing videos and different things.
All right.
I'm also on Twitter at Wildwood Kenya.
Okay. And do you have like Facebook or a website, anything like that?
I have a Reverb Nation page, which is for my music, and that's reverbnation.com/Wildwood Kenya as well.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, it's a real pleasure. I appreciate you taking the time to share your life with us, essentially. So,
thank you for the invitation.
My pleasure. And I'll look forward to more of your videos.
Thank you.
All right. Take care, Kenya. Take care.
Thanks. Bye.
All right. Bye.